Hi there, my name is Rebecca Anderson. Let's get started. I'm here to discuss networking and how it can help you in your career. Now, people often think job success depends on just what they know, their technical skills, but it really depends on two things, what you know and who you are, and the who you are often makes the difference. Networking shows people who you are. It's the development and maintenance of mutually beneficial relationships. It's sharing of knowledge and contacts, and it's information gathering, relationship building. Networking is not only for extroverts, it's not only for people who like to talk a lot. It's not selling anything, instead it's learning and getting more information. It's not just getting a job, it's not a sales pitch. And it's not a one-way relationship. Networking is definitely not a nuisance. People enjoy helping others and sharing their expertise. Networking is quality, it's not quantity. Networking is not about collecting as many connections as you can. Instead, it's building lasting and meaningful connections that help both parties. When you look into networking, you should keep in mind your goal. You might be exploring, trying to learn if a career or an organization is the right fit for you. Or maybe you're trying to target specific jobs. Learn tips on getting a position within a particular organization. Learn about what working in an organization might look like. Maybe you want to get advice, get suggestions on resume, experience building, education, or connection. Whatever it is, keep in mind your goal so that you know what networking to target. Now, there's a couple different networking opportunities. I'm going to go over 3 here: online, informational interviewing, and networking events. You should make sure you know what type of networking that you would thrive in. Online and informational interviews tend to be a little more structured in format. There's certain roles and responsibilities, there's give and take in the conversation. While events can be a little more of an open format activity. It's a little more free-flowing, and that's where you often have that small talk aspect. Let me go over networking online. In networking online, there's 3 kind of areas that you can do this: LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. LinkedIn, the focus is definitely on business contacts and the professional community. You want to make sure you have a robust profile, and you can also take it further by joining relevant communities of interest, posting relevant articles, books, events. But make sure whatever you do, you can do it in a sustainable way. You don't want to post once and then never again. Facebook, the focus is more personal. It's on friends and family. But you should know that your network always extends to this arena. So you want to make sure whatever you do in Facebook is comfortable for both worlds. It's a good idea to make your Facebook profiles private since they are a little more personal. But you want to use a semi-professional photo in your cover photo because this will pop up in searches. For Twitter, the focus is on people you don't know. So whatever you say on Twitter should be something that would be interesting to the broader audience who maybe don't know the inside jokes. So you have online interviewing, and then you have informational interviews. Informational interviews can be low stress. They're professional meetings where you can really learn more about a particular industry, organization, and you can see where your skills fit best. In an informational interview, you're talking to someone to gain their insight, their perspective, and maybe any referrals they may have. You're not really there to ask for a job. When you think about who you might do an informational interview with, you can look at your contacts. Start with your personal contacts, get comfortable, then move on to your colleagues, your organizational contacts, and then finally, it's entirely appropriate to email people you meet from networking events or even contacts you make online and request an informational interview. So an informational interview is an interview that you initiate. When you request one, either by email, phone, or in person, you want to offer a lot of options. Let the person know that you're happy to meet in person at a convenient location, or you can talk on the phone, or you can chat online. If you're comfortable, you can even offer to Skype. Keep in mind that informational interviews tend to last 30 minutes or less, and they're professional meetings, so you want to dress appropriately, be polite, and be on time. And above all, be sure to go in prepared. Gather general information on the industry, organization, career. Make sure you know your goals for the meeting. Prepare an elevator pitch and pull together a list of questions that you want to ask. So we have online, informational interviews, and then we have networking events. And there's many different types of networking events, including career fairs, conferences, and social occasions. When you're preparing for a networking event, keep in mind the type of event and what the goals the other attendees have. This is going to help you plan out in advance what you can offer others to make the networking mutually beneficial. For example, if you're at a career fair, you can help recruiters by having your resume available. And if you're at a happy hour event after a conference, you can help by making good conversation and noting common interests and ways to assist each other in professional goals. No matter the event, there's a few additional key guidelines to keep in mind to set yourself up for success. Do your research, be prepared. Know the event, know your goal for the event. You want to use your strengths. Keep in mind what your conversational style is. Are you somebody who jumps into conversations, or do you need to pause, process, survey the scene, and then step in? You want to pace yourself. Networking events are often a marathon. They're not a sprint. It might be a good idea to arrive early so you can kind of case the joint, see what's happening. And I always suggest lingering by the food and other gathering points, getting in lines, because these are natural areas where people want to have conversation. If you're somebody who wants to make the event a bit more structured, you can volunteer to help. Something I love to do is to volunteer to help pass out name badges or help with registration. This gives you a natural in to make that connection. And once you do make the connection, you want to make sure you write it down. Take note of the person's name, what you talked about, so that you can follow up later. After you've set yourself up for success, another thing you can do is to create opportunities to make small, considerate gestures. For example, when you're in line for food, hand a plate to the person behind you. Compliment unique items. People always love to give compliments on jewelry, ties, eyeglasses. This is a great conversation starter. You can ask about accomplishments, degrees, publications. Maybe the person just gave a presentation and you can note how helpful and wonderful you thought it was. You can jump in to help. Balance plates. Somebody drops an item, pick it up. That's a conversation starter. Or again, you can do volunteering, passing out materials and such. Throughout the event, you want to keep in mind your posture and your body language. Stand tall, don't slouch, but instead keep your shoulders open. Smile. Don't use a bag or a briefcase, a folder or a plate even, as a shield. This is not inviting. It puts something between you and the other person. Keep in mind that you look fine. Don't mess or fuss with yourself or your hair. No one really pays as much attention to that stuff as you yourself do. And no chewing gum, ever, ever, ever. At an event, you want to make sure you're approachable. Don't be in huddles. There's a real tendency at events to stick with the people you know, the 4 or 5 friends or connections you already have. But by doing this, you're making it so no one else wants to approach that, because it's kind of intimidating to approach 5 people versus just 1. So make sure you step out from the pack at least a couple times. So we've set yourself up for success. There's some gestures we can make, and you're going to make sure you have that good body language. Once you actually have to make that connection, there's 4 steps you can kind of take. The first is the introduction. You want to introduce yourself, and if there's peers around, introduce your peers. Keep in mind that generally the more important person gets the introduction. What happens if you forget a name? I know that's happened to me. There's some things you can do. You can take the wingman approach. Oh, I'd really like you to meet my friend Sarah. And then that person will automatically introduce themselves. Or you can simply say, I'm really sorry, I've forgotten your name, but I really enjoyed our conversation. I'd love to keep in touch later. That's entirely appropriate. Along with your introduction, you're going to have a handshake probably. So keep in mind the handshake basics. Firm, eye contact, 3-second hold, not too long. It's a good idea to practice this. After your introduction, you're going to have some conversation. It's a good idea in your conversation to ask open-ended questions. For example, you wouldn't want to say, are you having a good time? This is a yes or no, and it doesn't invite them to say more. Instead, you could say, what have you enjoyed about the conference so far? Then they'll say some things, and then you'll say some things, and then before you know it, you've had a conversation. You're going to end up probably making a little bit of small talk. You could focus on current events, movies, plays, books, sports. You can discuss the event you're at. Wow, the food is really good here. Did you hear that presenter earlier? He was amazing. As I mentioned earlier, you can always give a compliment. It's always appreciated. After your good conversation, you want to have a graceful exit. There comes a point where you probably think in your head, we've been talking for a while, I need to leave, it's going to get awkward. You can have a graceful exit in many different ways. Just let them know, I'm headed over to eat and drink over here, but maybe we'll see each other later. Or you could say, have you met so-and-so, the colleague passing by? You can just say, I've really enjoyed our conversation. Thank you. I want to keep in touch. Can you give me your contact info? Or maybe, I promised myself I'd circulate a little bit, but it was great talking to you. I better go walk around. If it's somebody really important, you can let them know, I'm sure you want to talk with some others. I'm not going to hold you up, but can I have your card? It was really good to meet you. After your exit, you want to make sure you follow up. Thank you notes help build that relationship and the impression people have of you. They really should be called great to meet you notes and not just thank you notes, because it's an invitation to keep that relationship go further. In your thank you note, you want to make it personal. Tell them what you plan to do with the resources, the introductions, and the info they provided, or just mention something that you talked about that you really enjoyed. Let them know why it was so great to meet them. After your initial thank you, you can do an advanced follow-up. Write again after you've read the article, attended that meeting, or met that person you said you talked to. And should your networking continue over the years and you have new discoveries or information to share, check back in. This is that maintenance of the relationship that you initially built. If a position opens up in your organization, you can even contact them for guidance. It's not a one-time note. It's the start of an ongoing correspondence. Lastly, in networking, remember the things that make you unique and the value you have to offer others. This will make your networking mutually beneficial to you and the other person as well. Thank you.